Okay, hang on with us here because we're coming back to weekend walkabout in our garden and yours to our aiming for answers section on what became of those cuttings. Aiming for answers is our department where we try to follow up on some of the things that go on, and we showed you a while ago how to make cuttings, and here they are. So the phloxes did not particularly like being closed in there, but out of the 5 in there, 2 did fine. You can see the green leaves on the beauty bush, and look at the new growth coming on the butterfly bush and the roots that are there on it. This one went out into the garden already. And this is the Colquitzia, the beauty bush. This is called calloused. We showed it to you before. That material there, that's not potting mix gunked on there. That is the actual swelling up of the tissues and the beginning of the roots on that plant. So the Colquitzia is back in its little terrarium, and the other butterfly bushes, these guys right here, who were pulling up so much water out of the soil here that there's actually little bags of water hanging
It was amazing.
in their terrarium. Took them out. They were flowering. They said, we're fine. This is all new growth since they were stuck as cuttings, and both of them are growing. So I took those out there. It was a very good sized plant to be able to put in around this. It's foxtail lily. It's not a bulb, but it's an ephemeral kind of plant, and it has very brittle, shallow roots. And I want to cover it with something that grows later in the year, but I don't want to make a big hole and break a lot of roots. So I'm able to dig a small hole and move aside the brittle foxtail lily roots and make room for the butterfly bush. Look at all those roots. There's a lot of sand there, so they're covered, but it's got roots
Everywhere.
all directions. So I put it in as one bush. It's 2 cuttings, but I put it in as one bush. This one was that size last year. So it will now grow well with the foxtail lily. It's a good companion. And then we have a stumper.
Why do we rescue the enemy?
Why is it?
Why?
Our stumper department is a place where there are no real answers, but we were sent these pictures this week. I found this in the lawn and realized it was probably a bunny nest. So I marked it so that we wouldn't mow over them. And then in that terrible rain that we had, I went out to check them and they had gotten flooded out. See the wet bunnies? So I brought them inside and towel dried them and blow dried them and dug a little excavation for them, lined it, put grass in it and put it back, and they're doing just fine now. And this is a gardener whose garden is being mowed down on a regular basis by deer and rabbits. But show her a bunny with cute little bitty ears living in the grass, and what is it about gardeners? We say that we're tough, and we're not.
The chat is agreeing, and very much agreeing.
Yeah. So that's our meeting for today. We're really glad that everybody could join us. We're so glad that you met Cheryl and Pierre better up there. They are fabulous people. They are a wealth of knowledge. We'll ask them to come back again. You let us know how that worked for you, because that'll tell us what kind of topics we might want to ask people to help us too. If there are no more questions, we have
we have a couple.
You mentioned something earlier about tree replacement.
Yep, we've got just a couple. So Polly was looking for ideas for shade-loving shrubs they've got a 7 by 17 foot area.
Shade-loving shrubs, 7 by 17 feet. So it's a long border. So you could put maybe 3 things in. Spice bush, Lindera benzoin, our native spice bush, would be a very nice thing to go there. And I would put it in the middle of the space because it will grow up if you let it and become kind of like a small tree. And then I would put, what do you think, maple leaf viburnum next to it?
Shrub or tree?
Shrub. Or a sergeant viburnum. Well, those are all, we got to stay away from the viburnum.
Viburnums until the beetle.
For a little while. Okay, darn. I really like your false spirea, but I know that I know. It's going to be a little bit hard to find. this plant, but it's called Amorpha, Amorpha, Amorpha fructescens. It gets to be about 6 feet tall, gets lilac purple flowers on it in spikes in late summer, has gray leaves, grows kind of slowly, is native, not necessarily to this area right here, but is native in the Midwest. So I would put Amorpha on one side, put Lindera in the middle, and then I need something with big leaves to go on the other side.
Oak leaf hydrangea, too big compared to those other ones.
Oh, it could be one of the
Clethra.
small oak leaf hydrangeas.
Clethra.
We're
Not so much
in
in
shade,
shade.
yeah, we're if it's in a lot of shade, what else could we do there?
Well, a lot of the shoot gone.
And while they're thinking, I thought I would just show people who are interested in me in the butterflies. This is one that just arrived this morning and has been hanging out for the webinar, just there. So my butterflies say hi to everyone.
That's pretty cool. I think I would put in a boxwood. I would get a variegated boxwood. There are white variegated and gold variegated boxwoods, and you could get the coarse texture that way. And some winter interest. So I'd use boxwood, Amorpha, and Lindera, spice bush, Amorpha, and boxwood.
Great. Excellent. And then, yes, replacement. Mary is looking for a recommendation to replace a 30-year-old diseased blue spruce.
If you can find a con color.
A con color.
Oh, actually, and come to think of it, somebody put that in the chat. Carol said con color to replace. I think that was a private chat to me. Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted to go with the blue, if you want that blue color again, go with the con color fir.
They tend to be a little harder to find because they don't transplant as well, and they have an enormous root ball.
Try to get them small.
Get a smaller one. If you would like to start small, we have a lot of them in our yard. I just told Steve the other day, I said, I'm going to have to start digging some of these things up and putting them in pots.
They are small.
Because I am such a sucker for concolor firs. And we have one that's maybe a foot tall and pretty well branched. They'll take off once they go. Anyway, that's probably what I would use. We happen to like the Alaska false cypress. It's kind of a weeping. It's a very weeping,
narrow cypress.
Yeah,
false cypress,
and not blue like a blue spruce, or a white spruce, Picea glauca. They have a smaller cone, and they tend to be better suited to our environment than the Colorado blue spruce.
If you wanted something totally weird or unusual, you could do the Japanese parvifolia.
Right, you could do the
Japanese white.
Think of a Japanese white pine like a poodle that's been clipped. The needles and then a branch, and needles and then a branch, and needles and then a branch.
It's just a different look.
Yeah.
But it's bluish.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tina's asking, what is the conifer called you're discussing in your backyard? That's your what?
AB's.
Sorry, I'm not.
AB's concolor is the concolor fir, and we have white pine, blue spruce, red pine, Scots pine, and the concolor and arborvitaes. I mean, we've got all kinds of stuff in our yard, but the ones that I'm looking to dig up and do something with are the concolors, because I have a soft spot for them.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. All right, and then a quick one from Lori for a foundation planting. Would you go with a Densey or Hicks yew?
Depends on what you want. The Hicks yews are upright, and the Denseys are spreaders. So, it depends on what your
overall look. It's easier to keep a Densey cut rounded. It's easier to keep a Hicksy yew cut in a more of a square. So
and not cut shape unless you're doing it, but it's natural shape. You could allow it.
That's its natural shape. So there's at my son and daughter-in-law's house, they have a yew hedge. There's about 10 yews, and right smack in the middle. Why does it always have to be right smack in the middle? Somebody put a Hicks yew, and all the rest of them are Densey yews. And you can tell as soon as they start to grow and get out of it wants to be a different habit. So I like the more rounded look on shrubs. So I go with Denseys or brownie eye. But if I've got a space, a narrower space, and I want to try to keep things upright, Hicks yews, and we grow Hicks yews and other yews to grow to the full size. Hicks yews will grow to be about 20 feet tall.
25 feet.
And you talk about a great hedge. They're just a natural
No,
column.
the deer could only get about 5 foot up, 6 feet
That's
up
right.
on
You can
it.
keep them alive until they get past the deer browse line. Then you've got a great hedge.
Yeah, and then just quickly, one last one, since we were talking about the butterfly. Janet's saying that she used to have butterfly bush, but it became massive and seeded everywhere, so she took it out. Any comments? My comments are, that's great. That's fantastic. If it's too much for your yard, then it doesn't belong in your yard.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It doesn't. And
Weed is a plant that doesn't belong.
right. Yeah. And so you
Yep.
just take it out.
Okay, and I think that will do it for today, since we are now 10 minutes past. But thanks to everyone for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a great week. We'll be back next week talking about pruning foundation plants, because it's time. Once we get past the middle of August, it's time to keep things small. It's the best time of year to do it. And those foundation plants up against the house are the ones that tend to need the most attention.
Yeah.
So we'll focus on those. Talk to you.
Thank you all very much. Good day and ta-ta for now.